we have 4 simple rules. Number 1, we don't discuss politics, ever. Number 2, this is not a religious channel, and while you might hear people say, God bless you, or I'm going to pray for you, or I wouldn't have gotten through this without my faith, that's fine. What's not fine is to say, my God is better than your God, or here's why you're not getting into heaven. It's not going to fly. Number 3, we believe wholeheartedly if you can't control your tongue, then you can't control your life. So while on board, there's not going to be any cursing in the live chat, period. And number 4, there is no room for mean people on the lifeboat. Because we discuss very sensitive things from people's past in our group setting, we got to protect those people. The only way they feel confident and comfortable discussing those things is in an environment that is free of trolls and mean people. So if you're a mean person or you're a troll, we're going to block you for life. And if your account happens to be less than 24 hours old, we're probably a little suspicious right from the word go. Why? Well, because there are people in this world who enjoy being cruel solely for the sake of being cruel. It's not going to fly here. But if you're here because you're trying to get sober and live your best life, then you might find that the lifeboat is just that, a lifeboat. I'm Captain Tommy Scoville, and we will see you on deck. Hey everybody, I'm Captain Tommy Scoville, and you're on the lifeboat. I want to thank everybody that has stopped by today. We got a good crew. I'm looking out over the deck and see a lot of familiar faces. I also saw Niall, which puts to bed all of the direct messages and emails that I've gotten from all of you. Told you that Niall would be solid. He just needed to take care of some family stuff, and he's back with us, which is good. Always good to see Niall. But the fact that everybody was as concerned as they were makes my heart swell. It really does. Mark and I have talked about that I don't know how many times, but there's just something about the fact that everyone cares enough to be looking out and asking and chasing people down that it says a lot. It really does. And it's funny because today's subject matter is commitment, and there are so many things that are happening that kind of dovetail into that. And I'm going to start off with a story here today that wasn't part of this preparation. I didn't plan for this to be part of what we were going to talk about tonight, but things change quickly, especially when you're fighting the good fight. So earlier today, I got a message from somebody on the boat that said, you know what, I really want to drink. And by the way, I said to this individual, I really want to tell this story on the show. Is that cool with you? I wouldn't have done it without permission, I assure you. But he said, yeah, please, go ahead, do it. Remember when I interviewed Alan Valentine, and we talked about how Alan found himself, feeling like he was sliding and started thinking about drinking and reached out to me almost instantly. Well, today, the same thing happened with Brandon. Brandon sent me an email that said, you know what, I really feel like drinking. And people, I almost blew an O-ring. Not because, this happens to everybody. We all go through this. And the fact that he reached out to me is the best possible case scenario. You know what it shows, right? Commitment, right? That is the embodiment of commitment. When you start feeling like you're not solid, reaching out and trying to elicit the help of the people that are in your support family, that's the definition of commitment. And Brandon has been fighting the good fight for a long time, but the couple of times he stumbled, I said to him, hey brother, the next time you feel like having a drink, please reach out to me. And as I said in the other night, he reached out to me on New Year's Eve, a little bit late in the game, because by then he had been drinking, and he was sort of overwhelmed with guilt. But when he reached out to me, I was in the car driving, and in this state, if you get caught, so I knew I wasn't going to be able to text back and forth with him, so I just hit video on, tried to do a video chat while driving, and Brandon didn't pick up the phone, and my heart sunk to my knees, and I started to leave some voice messages, and I started to leave some text messages, and pretty standard issue stuff. If you think about it, stuff like, hey man, you don't want to do this. You really don't. Think of how proud you are of how far you've come. The last thing in the world you want to do right now is is to go and do something like this, man. I know that and people, here's what it boils down to. He said, I really don't like the way I feel right now. I don't like the way this is one of the things that drives everybody to use. You start feeling that unbelievable, not even a desire all the time, but very often it's just the weight of the world is on top of you. And you just start getting those feelings that are awful. And they're ants, right? Automatic negative thoughts, ants start crawling all over your brain, and you just feel down. You feel like, and you remember, the times when, a couple of beers and this is going to feel different. And what I told him, and it's something that I hope everybody takes to heart, is when you start feeling those feelings, you know how long they last on average? I'm not kidding. About 20 to 40 minutes. For real. I'm not making this up. We have 60,000 on average individual thoughts every single day. That's the average person. Now, I promise you there are some that have 100,000 thoughts over the course of a day. Your brain jumps from one subject to the next, right? Just one right after the other. You don't think about it, but it's the truth. That's what happens during the course of an average day. So if you start feeling those overwhelming feelings of doom and feelings of, dread and feelings of that desire to, all you got to do is get through about 20 minutes of that. If you can get your brain off of that subject matter for 20 minutes, it's going to pass. You're going to find yourself out of that danger zone. And I left a message and said, please, man, run outside, change your environment, get out of the house that you're in, go for a walk, look at nature, do some push-ups, run around, anything. And I didn't hear back from him. So I tried a couple of more times. I tried some audio calls. I tried some video calls, and people, I was devastated. I really was. And make no mistake, this isn't me saying, I would have been disappointed in him. It's not what I'm saying. I just would have been disappointed. I know how much the 30 days meant, and I know that 60 is going to be even better. Once you step over the line of the support family, there is no going back. You are part of an incredible system which works. We cannot do this alone. We can together in many ways. Niall, great comment, right? That's commitment. And what he's saying is once you're committed to this, there's no going back. For real. Once you're committed to a support family, these people are going to support you, even if you don't want them to. They're going to support you, and they're going to chase you down, and they're going to go out of their way to make sure that you don't make mistakes that you're going to regret later. So right around the time I'm beating the heck out of myself for not pulling the car over on the freeway, to try to make sure that I could get him on the phone, my phone made that video chat noise, which is so unique to Messenger. And I ran over and I hit it, and there was Brandon. And I said to him, Brandon, how you doing? Right. And I'm not going to lie, people, because I hadn't heard from him. I was kind of anticipating you know what, Captain, I messed up. And he said, I'm doing great. The big smile on his face. I said, are you? He said, yeah, I just made some taco soup, spicy. And I said, so you held off? He said, I did. People, you talk about going from here to here in 2 seconds, feeling really, really down to that level of pride in Brandon. Seriously, I'm so proud I could, light a match, stomp my foot, throw something against the wall. Like I can't tell you how proud I am. The level of commitment that takes. And the best part, people, is that once you're committed and once you're in it, you really are living that life. The tools that we use, we don't have to reinvent them. We don't have to come up with new ones. So if you find yourself in that weird feeling 25 times in 1 month, if you do the exact same thing every single time, you're not going to drink. You're not going to smoke. You're not going to snort. You're not going to shoot. You're not going to relapse. You don't have to come up with all of these new ways. If you can't get through it yourself, you reach out to somebody in the support family. You're committed. I don't want to be the person that I used to be. I don't want to slide backwards. I don't want to do those things. It's really and honestly that simple. It's never having to reinvent the wheel. It's just plugging into something that we know works. And seeing Brandon do that today, honestly, people, there's no way for me to explain to you just how happy that makes me. And it's a great way to start this message because it's such an example of commitment. And I want you to realize a couple of things about commitment. I mean, you can be committed to any number of things, right? You can be committed to an infinite number of things. But when it comes to being committed to sobriety, shoving your chips all into the center of the table and saying, I'm all in, I'm not going to do this. I am not going to drink. That's really a big deal. And I'll tell you something, it takes courage. It does. It takes an awful lot of courage. And I think that sometimes people don't realize that. And it's a twofold kind of a thing. Number one, because it takes courage, it's something you better be aware of because it's not an easy thing to do. And when you realize that it takes courage, you'll sort of gird yourself up for it more. You know what I mean? You'll realize that this is something that, takes a little guts. And the second aspect of that is you should pat yourself on the back incessantly when you do. Because anybody that does anything that's courageous probably should get some kind of recognition and some kind of warm and fuzzy feeling out of that, because courage is a beautiful thing. Two quick ones about courage. One of my favorite stories is a story of a woman who went in to kiss her son in goodnight. And, right before she did, she could see in his eyes that he was having one of those nights. I remember when you were a kid, and could it be a monster under the bed, or perhaps there's one in the closet, but he was definitely scared about something. And she said, "Are you all right, honey?" And he said, "Mom, is there any chance I could sleep in bed with you tonight?" And she said, as kind as she could, like a mother would, gave him a big smile and said, "You know what? I would love, for you to be able to do that, but I got to sleep with your dad." And he goes, "Beautiful, the big wuss," right? People, courage comes in so many different forms. My second favorite story of courage is it's boat related. So I thought that this dovetails nicely with what we do, but it's on a cruise ship, 7-day cruise. And at dinner, there are people toasting and celebrating this gentleman who was in his early 70s, who you can tell is feeling really uncomfortable about the whole thing. But the captain is toasting him and everyone else, because it turns out that earlier in the day, a person fell overboard, good size drop to the water. And this 72-year-old man found himself next to this person in the water within seconds, making sure that this person wasn't going to sink this woman while they figured out a way to get, you don't whip a cruise ship around. So there's a process, and went in there and saved this woman's life. And as everyone is toasting him and celebrating, just how courageous this thing was, they asked him to, say a few words, and he kept it pretty much to a few words, probably the fastest acceptance speech for a hero kind of a thing. And he said, "Well, I really appreciate all this. I just have one question. Which one of you pushed me?" Right? Who shoved me overboard? Because I certainly didn't jump in there myself. People, no matter what form courage takes, whether you get shoved over the side of the boat or whether you fling yourself over the side, or what shape this courage takes, you got to pat yourself on the back. There are so few people who in the very beginning of their sobriety are gung-ho. Now, I don't mean that by day 3 or 4, you don't get excited, because you do. There's a honeymoon period when you wake up and you're not hungover, or you wake up and you don't need a fix. When that first settles in, you feel like you're walking on water, right? You can do anything. Man, I got through the first day. I got through the second day, and that starts to gain momentum, and it really starts to make you feel wonderful. But to make the commitment to get to that first day, honestly, I don't care what anybody tells you, the majority of people don't want to make that commitment. There's usually some catalyst that was just so pressing, right? I talked to a guy day before yesterday who said to me, I'm ready to quit drinking. It's gotten to the point in my life where I have to quit. And I said, what was the deciding factor? And he said, "This is the 4th day in a row I got up vomiting blood." And it occurred to me, number one, pretty good reason to stop drinking, right? This is a fairly serious health issue. But I remember thinking when he said it that these are the kind of things that give people that final push, that push people over the edge. I had a friend that was a very, very serious cocaine addict for a very long time. And one day called me, and I was still using people. I was using everything at that time in my life. But he called me and said, "Hey, if I call you and tell you I'm trying to score some blow, don't help me." And I said, "Oh, okay." He said, "Because I'm done with this crap. I'm not kidding. I'm done. So if I, start talking about it or act like I want, just don't help me." I said, "All right, man. No problem." And I said to him, what was, why are you quitting? He said, "I can take my tongue and I can literally move every tooth in my head with it." He said, "If I take my tongue and I press hard on any one tooth, I can feel it move." And this was not a guy living on the street. This was not a guy that didn't take care of. This was just somebody that was doing so much of that poison that, it was starting to really gravely take effect. People, whatever the catalyst is that gets you to shove all of the chips into the middle, it's about commitment, right? I make you a promise right here today. I'm no guru. I'm no doctor, right? We've gone over this, but I have spent enough time around drug addicts, and I spent enough time as a drug addict that I can tell you, if you think you're going to give sobriety a little test run to see how it works, just keep partying. Just keep doing what you're doing, because you're not going to make it. It's a waste of your time. And more importantly, honestly, it's a waste of effort to all of the people, as Niall said, who will have your back to the finish line. If you're going to jump into this, then treat the people in your support group with enough respect to try. I'm not saying you may not relapse. That's legit. But if you're honestly at the beginning thinking, we'll see what happens, you know what I mean? I'll give this sobriety thing 24 to 36 hours. And I mean, how many times have we seen people on the boat who came on board and they give you the greatest speech in the world? They'll be in the comments section talking about how, number one, they are never going to use again. Number two, they are never going to miss one of these shows. Number three, they're going to be here for every single person on board. And you could, send out Lewis and Clark to try to find the individual or these people, because within, 2 or 3 days, they're gone. We've all been doing this long enough to know what happens when those people are gone, right? We're not, nobody here doesn't understand this game. If you don't see somebody, it's because chances are they're back, air quotes, partying. They're back in the life. And we don't look down our nose at them. It's not what we do. In fact, you know what we do? We double our efforts for praying for that individual, and we wait and hope that the next time he or she comes back, we'll support him the exact same way. If you're new to the boat, you may not have heard this. If you've been here a while, you've heard this 1,000 times. But when people show up here, the usual speech is, listen, if you're still using, when the time comes that you're ready to make that commitment, when the time comes that you're ready to say, I'm going to quit, we're going to be here to support you and care for you and everything we can do. I promise you. And until that day, we're going to be here to care for you, to pray for you, and all of the same things. It doesn't matter whether you're using or not. Everybody here that you see in this comment section, especially, I could call names out. Certainly if you see a blue wrench next to their name, these are people that have been here a very long time and are committed, not just to staying sober, but to helping every single person who happens to wander onto this ship. Mark and I talk about this so often. In fact, let's be honest. We talk about this when every single show ends. every time we get done filming, the conversation at some point gets to just how much the crew outgrew the expectations of the two of us. When we first started to do this and we first started to start doing live feeds, I remember the conversation like it was yesterday. And I said, you know what, if within the first, say, 12 to 18 months, if we can keep this thing going that long, I think people will really begin to get it. And this will start to take on the shape of a group, like a group therapy that's here every day for people. And they're just, I really think that'll happen. And Mark, more than myself, realized that there was a really good chance this was going to happen in a much shorter period of time than that. I don't think any of us thought it was going to happen by the end of the week. And truthfully, from the first day that we went live, that's what happened. It's really amazing just how much this crew is committed to sobriety, not just their own, but to everybody's. And I think one of the things that also jumps out at me when you talk about the commitment of everybody here is that they don't pick and choose who they're going to work with and who they're going to be committed for. I'd like to work with that person, but our religious convictions aren't really quite the same. So I think I'll just let that one slide. And that guy over there, he's a Republican or he's a Democrat. So I'm not going to, none of that crap. It all gets checked at the door. And that's a sign of commitment. And it's an amazing sign of commitment because we can't do that in the rest of the country, right? In this day and age, a Republican and a Democrat can't sit down at a table and have a conversation about things that have nothing to do with politics. I mean, how many times have you heard stories these days of people who will not invite a brother or a sister to Thanksgiving because they voted for this guy or didn't vote for that guy? It's pretty twisted. But as I talked about last night, and as we bring up all of the time, when you join this fraternity, and I don't just mean the boat, I'm talking about the fraternity of people that have been there and done that. The fraternity of people who have all been enslaved by drugs and then have finally gotten through that type of thing. You drag with you the memories of what it felt like. And when you look at someone who's suffering, you don't give a crap if they voted red or blue. You just know that they're hurting. And it makes for a very, very beautiful environment as far as I'm concerned. Takes time, but now this is becoming more than a channel, more than a shot in the dark. Now, as you said, it has become a commitment and it's a responsibility for all of us. I wish I had said that. Honestly, I wish I had said that. That's beautiful, Niall, and it's the absolute truth. So the question becomes, I'm sorry, people. I don't know what's going on, allergies or something, but my nose has been running all day. The question becomes, truthfully, are you committed? Are you committed to getting and staying sober? And you know what? If you're not, that's fine. Truthfully, it's fine. There's a great cliche in this game, and it's one that gets repeated constantly. And you know why? Because it's so true that it has to be repeated constantly. But I remember talking to somebody and saying, so-and-so is, has kind of left the boat. And this is a person I really had a lot of high hopes for in terms of getting sober. And the person that I was speaking to said, well, they haven't really done enough dope yet. And that is really what it comes down to. Have you done enough? Because that's where the commitment comes in. You heard Alan when he was talking about the meth, over there, of course, they call it speed, but it's the same thing. It's an amphetamine. And he said he got to a point where he had done enough of that crap. Well, when you get to a point where you have done enough, that's commitment. I'm done. I'm not going back to this. And it's like he said, they're going to close the box. There's not a doubt in his mind that he's never going to do that stuff again. Ha! 40-foot garbage man says, Niall Parkinson, it's good to see you back, brother. I missed reading all the knowledge bombs that you drop in the chat. God bless you. Here's one. I have never had more than one drink of booze or done drugs, but I have been a substance counselor for over 12 years, and it's taking a toll on me. You know what? That's Michael. Michael sent me an email talking about that. And people, I have spoken before about the what happens to people who do what we do. If you put yourself out there and you say, my goal from this point forward is going to be to do everything within my power to make sure that nobody within the sphere of influence that I work with is going to do drugs or alcohol. And I'm going to do whatever I can to make that happen. I'm going to counsel them. I'm going to pray for them. I'm going to do everything that I can do. And I've come on here before, when we lost somebody or, someone relapsed or whatever, and come on and said, boy, this would just really hurt. This was a kick in the stomach. People, this guy's been doing this for 12 years, right? God bless you, Michael. I mean that, I mean that. I've been doing this for 6 months as of last night. And to have been doing this for 24 times as long as I've been doing it, I can't imagine the things that you've seen. I can't imagine the heartache and suffering that you've endured as you watch people that you really care about that don't make it. But I'm glad that you're here. I really am. And not for my benefit, but the people in this comment section can recharge a person's batteries like nothing that you have ever felt. This is a group of people that will absolutely reach out and pray and do everything else that they can do within their power, to work with you. And as you said, never done more than one drink of booze and never done drugs. But the line of work you're in is hell on emotions. It really is. It is a really tough thing on someone's emotions. You've probably heard of EA. And people, if you haven't heard of EA, it's like AA, except it's about emotions. And if you read what they modified the 12 steps to, it's incredible. It really is. It's something that I remember reading. I've read about it in references, I don't know how many times, but I did most of my studying while I was incarcerated. I didn't get a chance to get one of these books. I didn't get it until Sunday. So I got it, 2 days ago. And I'm just now really diving into it, but it's amazing to read the thing. If you have a drug or alcohol addiction, you came to the right place. We don't care if you have 1 day or 10 years sober. You are all welcome here. Well played. Nice. Well played, Mark. Wow. There's a lot. You know what, people? The comment section, the amount that you can learn in this comment section. Oh, you know what, people? I'd like to also do a shout out to the Swiss man. The Swiss Vapor is also, remember last night he had sent an email. He's been very, very vocal, and he's been very open with everybody here concerning, what his struggles have been. And, one of the real primary struggles for him has been opiates. This was a very, very tough thing for him. And as he got through that and was able to put that in the rearview mirror, one of the things that he did was he did, a substitute kind of a thing for alcohol. And people, we did a video a long time ago about switching one drug for another. And it's never a good thing until it is. All right. I know that this does not fall into line with every other person who does what we do. But if you're a guy that sticks needles in your arm and you do it 3 times a day for 10 years, and then you decide that you're smoking pot as a way to get over it, get you some pot. All right. You're never going to hear me say that was a bad decision. If you go from heroin to marijuana, I'm not really all that upset that you're on marijuana. Now, in a perfect world, you get off of all substances without the use of anything. I wasn't able to. Plain and simple, I wasn't. I use medical assisted treatment, something that works beautifully for me. In fact, so beautifully that today I forgot to take it. Just told Mark right before we went live. I said, you know what? I forgot to take my meds today. No big deal though. It's one of those things that But Swiss Vapor is now. He's now made the decision that alcohol is the next thing to go, and in typical Swiss Vapor fashion, he's being very, very methodical about it. And truthfully, he's doing it in a way that I find astounding. And if it was anyone else, I would say to him, you know what, I don't see this working. But I'm not going to say that to Swiss Vapor. Seriously. He's also been very open about, the fact that he's afflicted with Asperger's syndrome, which very oftentimes, if you know how that sort of manifests itself, this just kind of dovetails perfectly to who he is. But he's stepping down his alcohol use successfully. And at this point, he's down to a couple of beers. And this was a guy that drank. He drank. So to get down to where he's doing a couple of beers. And in the process, there are very few people that I've come across on the boat who take to heart more how we close at the end of each and every one of these videos, right? If you've been here before, you know what we say, right? reach out there and try to save somebody. Swiss Vapor takes that to heart. Truthfully, takes that to heart. And he's continuing to do this now on a day-to-day basis. And as far as I'm concerned, he's a soldier for sobriety. And it, as we were talking to Michael, it's tough. It's tough when you try to help people in a vocation or in a calling or a mission where under the best of circumstances, you're shooting for about a 90% fail rate. You know what I mean? That's tough. It really is. But the beautiful thing is those 10%, right? Those 10% make it all worthwhile. I'm telling you, people, this is no cliche. It is the gospel truth. If I knew that I had to come on here and do this every single night for the rest of my life, and I was going to save 3 people, I'd keep doing it. Plain and simple. The reason is I was the one whose life was wasted. For real. I was that guy. I got 6.5 years sobriety under my belt. I am 51 years old. So if you do the math, I spent the majority of my life in a great world. I might just hit 90. Pretty tough on my life. I mean, on my body in the first half of my life. But in a perfect world, maybe I'll hit 90. That means 45 years of my life were spent in a way that I really just cannot be proud of. And for that reason, I could happily come on here every single night for the rest of my life to save 3 people. Now, I think we're going to do a hell of a lot better than that. Not because of me, and not because of my bobble-headed partner, who's nodding right as we speak, by the way, but because of the crew that we were fortunate enough to put together here. It's been nothing short of a miracle that wages. I think you just got a hello from JJ. JJ, I don't know that I have ever said welcome to the boat. It's a name that I have not seen before. Oh, and Swiss Vape says also, if there's anybody on the boat who feels in the same way that Brandon was feeling today, he said, reach out to him. By the way, people, in the Dropbox, you're going to see the Facebook page that we have. We got a Facebook group, and it is another avenue that you can plug into, because let's be honest, we've got a couple of thousand people on the boat. We get an awful lot of emails. We get a lot of people that reach out to us, and we respond to them. Truthfully, we do. Sometimes it takes a few days. And if you're someone who is about to make a mistake, a couple of days is not an option. What I would recommend is trying to reach out to one of us in Messenger, or trying to reach out to one of us in a place where we're going to hear it instantly, like the way Alan did, or the way that Brandon did today. Because if I get one of those, I promise you, I'm going to be doing something about it. Mitchell Watson. Good to see you, bud. He says, you know what gets me is the guilt. I tell myself I don't deserve friends like you. In the back of my mind is going to let him down. I'm trying my hardest, fam. That's all I can do. Hey, that's all anyone can do. We're not asking for anything more than that, brother. You try your best. That's the best that anybody can hope for. And when you feel that stuff that says, I don't deserve friends like this, and you get that stuff in the back of your mind that says, I'm just going to let these people down, you know what we call those, right? Those are the ants, brother. That's what we're talking about. That's the automatic negative thoughts. That's what's going on. By the way, they're horse crap. They are. Those things aren't real, bro, at all. What that is, automatic negative thoughts, is your brain trying to get you to feed it whatever chemical it likes more than it likes your life. You understand? We've talked about this at length on this channel before. What happens in the mind of the addict is there's a part of your brain, Niall describes it better than anybody, truthfully, but there's a part of your brain you're going to be in a fist fight with for the rest of your life. The only way to win that fist fight is to not engage. Honestly, it's not to fight it. You're not going to win. But when you start getting that in the back of your mind that I don't deserve friends like this, of course you do. Of course you do. But if your brain keeps telling you things like that, it knows that guilt will get you to the bottle. Guilt will get you to the pipe. Guilt will get you to the needle about as fast as anything. It's a cliche, but it's a damn good one. There's a reason the windshield is huge and the rear view mirror is this big. What's that? Mitchell, guilt is the killer of sobriety. Contact any one of us and we will be there for you. I know guilt. You know what? Niall, well played, man. Well played. Hey, everyone. Love y'all, says Mitchell. Mitchell, I hope you heard what I just said from Niall. That is directly to you. And I'm going to reread it, people. It said, Mitchell, guilt is the killer of sobriety. Contact any one of us and we'll be there for you. I know guilt. And you know something? There's nobody that is fighting the good fight who doesn't know guilt. Mitchell, if you did not see the interview we did with Niall, watch it. It's about 3-4 days back. Watch it. You want to hear someone articulate guilt about as eloquently and as beautifully as you're ever going to hear? You need to watch that video. It's but guilt is automatic negative thoughts. It's ants. That the same kind of stuff that says I don't deserve friends like this. No, you deserve better than this, but we're the best you're going to get. Seriously, anytime anybody hits me with that, I don't deserve this stuff. People, you deserve the best you can get. Honestly, you know, the best you can get. If I got what I deserved, you know, by the grace of God, or however you would like to look at it, I never got what I deserved. You know, I would have probably done my entire life in prison if I got what I deserved. You know, and there wouldn't be anybody in my family or friends or anywhere who would forgive me for the things that I did in the first 45 years of my life. Seriously, there wouldn't be a person on the planet that could have forgiven me for all that. But you know why they do? Because my friends have been there and done that. The people who I associate with, the people who I talk to on a daily basis, understand what it means to change your life. And those people in my life who are friends and family who are not drug addicts have seen that the new Tommy is not the old Tommy. Anytime people say, you know, no one's ever going to forgive me, spend about 4 years doing the right thing. Spend about 4 years not telling lies. Spend about 4 years having your word mean things. So you say, tell you what, I'll give you a call on Tuesday, 3:00. You call them 3:00 Tuesday. Right? Do that for 4 years and watch people go, well, I'll be damned. He isn't even the same person. He's not even the same person. When that starts to happen, it's a snowball effect. You'll start sitting there going, you know what? I'm not the same person. I'm not. I'm a new creature. I'm a new creation. And when that starts to sink in, a beautiful thing happens. You can literally say, you know what? I don't need to feel guilty. I proved that I'm a different person. And if I'm a different person and no one in their right mind would have done what I just did, then obviously, sorry. Tommy, can you do a shout out? Joanna Ward, we spent about an hour talking just because this show and our companionship is instantaneous. Let me see here. What just happened? Oh, no. Well, I can't do that if the message got retracted. But I'll do a shout out to Joanna on general principle because I'm a pretty big fan of Joe's anyway. Joanna, we love you. Hope you're feeling better. Hope you're doing well. Yeah, Joanna's good people, truthfully. And makes my heart smile to hear that. Joanna also quit smoking recently. With everything else that was going on in her life, she put down the nicotine, which is pretty impressive stuff. And I know that all of those things go a long way to to making you healthier. You know something? He reposted the same comment and then it disappeared again. I kind of feel like I'm getting messed with. All right, that's it. I can't figure this out. Seriously. Joanna, a little blush now and that isn't such a bad thing. Misspelled some words. Niall, I read misspelled words. What are you kidding me? My brain works that way. I wouldn't have even known you misspelled them. Come on, we're better than that. People, the question for the day Plain and simple, the question for the day: are you committed? Is this the life you want to live? And I'll tell you something, if you're hearing this right now and you're using, same question: is this the life you want? Huh? Is this what you wanted when you were 12? What do you want to be when you grow up? A junkie, an alcoholic, a drug addict? I'm not thinking that's what you wrote down, you know? So, truthfully, today, make a commitment. Niall, let's see. Third time the charm. Niall, if you erase this while I'm reading it, you're in trouble. Tommy, can you do a shout out? Joanna Ward, we spent an hour talking just because of this show, and our companionship is instantaneous and honest. I spent a lifetime looking for just that. Wow. You know what? The last part of that was so good. It took 3 times to get to it, but that's absolutely beautiful. It really is. And you know something? This happens so often on the boat where there's somebody that just clicks. I'll be really honest with you. The relationship that I have with Alan Ballantyne. Again, I've said it a million times. I'll probably continue to say it. Every single time I am feeling low and things are just, and I'm in a bad place, I get an email or I get a text message or I get a phone call from Alan. It's almost creepy. It really is. His timing is so on point that it's a little bit crazy. 1 second. Yeah. PTSD is something. There's a lot of us on the boat, JJ, who know a fairly decent amount about post-traumatic stress disorder. It happens a lot just to addicts in general, but the lifestyle that we all live while under the influence of drugs and alcohol very often put us into situations where we see and hear things that we would like to be able to unhear and unsee. And post-traumatic stress is something that a lot of us deal with. Feel free to reach out to anybody on the boat. You can reach people over at the lifeboat page. Go to the Dropbox. My email contact info is there, captaintommyscovill@gmail.com, or you can reach out to Blue Kool-Aid. Either one is going to get. And you know what? It's a good idea anyway. If you just got to the boat, pay attention, everyone. If you just got to the boat, reach out to one of us. Tell us a little bit about your story so that when we look out on the deck and we see you, we have a little bit better idea. Perfect. I love it. I was starting to. Okay, people, you know what time it is. This is the time of the show where I like to turn the show over to my bobble-headed partner and resident technical wizard, Mark. How you doing today?
I'm doing a lot better today.
Me too.
I really am. I guess we have those times where we go through tough ones, and when you start coming out on the other end of it, I like to look back a little bit and see how far I came. I've always been a subscriber to, you get through the tough stuff, you're stronger on the other end. And that's, I've always tried to live my life like that. Even when I was in the life, I was the same way. It's just something my parents really beat that in my head. And I'm glad they did. I mean, they did a really good job of that. That's something that I can hold on to those kinds of things. And, JJ was talking about the PTSD, and unfortunately, there's not everybody gets that kind of, love from their parents. You know what I'm saying? And I'm not saying that that's her issue. I don't know what gave her the PTSD. But for me, I look back and see how lucky I was. Because I hear, and I see other people's stories in their lives, and it's again, I have to say this one more time. I can empathize, but I cannot completely sympathize with what's going on in that situation. You know what I mean? And it definitely, it makes it so when you're here and you're talking to people, I don't know, it's almost an instant connection because you have something in common. If you find somebody that's been through similar stuff and you're able to talk about it, it builds an immediate connection. And that's why, again, me and Tommy, we connected real quick, because we really, our addiction was very, very similar. His was the the heroin, mine was pain pills. It's opiates, but we had the same mindset on how to fix it and how to try to stay doing okay and living our best life. And there was never a question of that. It was just really evident. And like you said with him and Alan, I mean, they got that instant connection. And I know all of you guys out there listening to me right now know somebody like that in your life. Most of you do. So you can kind of understand. And when people say things like this, it really does. So I say all that to say that when you have those good connections and you make a commitment to somebody like that, your chances of succeeding with that commitment and staying true to that is so much bigger than if you were just to say, hey, and just put it out in the ether like a New Year's resolution. You know what I mean? If it's like blowing the candles out on your birthday cake and then just telling everybody what you wish for. It just, yeah, it's that kind of a thing. But when you're held to a commitment, there really has to be an element of accountability that goes along with it. I do believe that that's what, during the tough times, it will bring you to a more solid place, because when you start screwing up, even if you don't see it, the person that's holding you accountable will. We can't see our own problems probably 75% of the time. Somebody has to tell our dumb brains, hey, you're messing up. I see you doing this. I see you doing that. And are you okay? That's exactly what you hear Tommy, myself, or just read the chat. That's what they say. They say that. Exactly. I'm not even mixing any words there. Those words come out exactly like that. And I think that that's really important, because that shows a level of honesty. And then the next step of that would be commitment. There has to be, there's a whole lot of secondary, I guess, emotions or actions, I guess, if you want to put it that way. There has to be a certain level of dedication to follow through with a commitment. There has to be some accountability to follow through with a commitment. All these other things that have to go to that word commitment. And when you can find that, and I use that thumbnail on purpose, and some people might not have caught that, but there's a lot of little words around that word commitment, but in the middle, commitment's right there. Because that's what it really boils down to a lot of the time. We've been talking about doing it for ourselves, right? Can we get sober just for ourselves? Are we being selfish? Are we doing this? Are we doing that? All those things. So it does, and commitment's part of that. Yes, we're doing it for ourselves. I mean, let's just face it. That's why. But on the surface, if we feel like we're helping somebody, or we're giving a loved one that wants us to get clean a gift, that's a good enough reason to get your butt there. Just saying. And then all that other stuff, you will grow. Your mind will start to change a little bit. You get that, we talk about the moment of clarity. I know we said that so many times. Those who have been here for a long time are probably getting so tired of us saying it. But those that are new, that is exactly what happens. You have to find at least a brief moment of clarity so you know what your goal even is. When you don't have that, you're so clouded over that you can't even see what you're trying to achieve. And it makes it really so hard. And that's why the commitment thing and the accountability thing comes into play. Because if you can't see it, well, maybe somebody here on the boat or somebody in your life that you care about sees it. Then they can tell you, hey, you're supposed to be going here. You took a right turn pretty quick. What's going on? And I would encourage people to be completely honest with those people, because they wouldn't say that unless they cared anyway. No matter what the answer is, they're not expecting any certain answer. They truly just want you to be okay. So be honest. Most of us have that moment of complete honesty when we first get into recovery. Because if there's ever a time that somebody's going to forgive you, it's going to be right there. You might as well just throw it all out there. Let them hear everything that you can possibly say that you've done in your life. All of that stuff. That was so key for me and my wife to get to the next level of being able to repair relationships and my kids, my parents, anybody I cared about. I lied to everybody. Everybody. So when I first got help, I went around to everybody and said, hey, I lied to you. I'm sorry. I'm not saying you have to go do that. I'm just saying recognize that if you're requiring that kind of a forgiveness or just want to get that off your chest, please go do that. Please. Because it will help you follow through with your commitment to sobriety. You see how that all ties in together? I know commitment's a big word because there's so many things that's involved. But all these things, these little things, help people achieve that. Help us stay committed. So, yeah.
No question. No question. I saw a comment earlier from the Swiss Vapor, and he gave me the captain, my captain. I think it, I may be ready to step up to the plate for an interview. I will reach out to you, my brother. Look for me to hit you up in the messenger, and we'll see about trying to put something together here in the upcoming future, because it's a very good thing.
Yeah, good comment, Linda. That's a good way to put that. They say you're as sick as your secrets.
You know what? Yep, I've heard that. I've heard that one before, and I like it. You're only as sick as your secrets, and there's a lot to that. Brandon said, thank you, Tommy, for being there. Brandon, way more importantly, thank you for being committed enough to your sobriety to reach out before you did something that you shouldn't have. Honestly, if you had any idea how proud I am of you for that, if you continue to keep that kind of commitment, the day is coming where you're going to say, you know what, 5 years ago on New Year's Eve, right? For real. And the longer, I promise you, people, for anybody that's just starting out in this, Mark can back it up more than I can. And there are people who can back it up more than the both of us. But the longer that you stay sober, the better it gets. As we were talking about yesterday, it's a malfunctioning reward center that causes you to make mistakes. The longer that you stay sober, the more that all of those, processes of the brain start to act the way they're supposed to. The next thing you know, you actually start getting, reward chemicals released into the brain when they're supposed to. And the next thing you know, the smallest things in life, a rainbow. There are things that, this is the gospel truth, people. When you're incarcerated, there are things that you just can't do. And one of them is, like, if it's raining, I remember looking outside and going, it would not bother me to get caught in a rainstorm. After 7 years, if there's a threat of a rainstorm, we're locked down. There's no chance of going outside. There's no chance. And I remember the first day after being out when it rained. And I remember looking and watching people run into stores and duck under things and put their hands up and curse. And I remember standing out there just thinking, this is the coolest thing in the entire world. I can stand out here and get soaking wet if I want. Right. And honestly, there were the reward chemicals in my brain released it, and it just felt beautiful.
Right. I could say something here that might help somebody kind of remember what's going on in their own lives. And that would be, I try to remember things before I was sober. Well, not before, but before I got into the life, I guess, if you want to put it that way. And I go back a lot of times to, a lot of people call it the innocence of childhood. And it's not really innocence. It's just, you just don't know. You just don't know what the bad is yet, really. You have to be taught all that and all those kinds of things. But for a lot of people, and I'm not saying if you had a really horrible childhood, obviously you don't try to go back to those memories, especially if you've already dealt with them. But what I'm saying is, for people like myself, and I would say probably at least 50% of the people walking around probably had a decent enough childhood that there's some good stuff there. That's real stuff. You often hear me say fake, right? Fake happiness. What's fake happiness? Well, it's that chemical you just threw in your body. That's fake. You're not supposed to feel that. You're never ever supposed to feel that dopamine release from a chemical. You're not. We were never intended to do that. This is something that, that's a byproduct of a pain medication, and people figured that out. And obviously, instead of just like the human race does so often, you take the easy road. That's where it comes. Sometimes you got to work at happiness. You choose it. Happiness is not given. You have to choose to be it. You have to choose to go get it. And so for me, I go back to some of my childhood memories. I really do. If there's one thing I could say about my parents, and we all have had our issues with our parents, but I always 100% of the time knew I was loved. I mean, there was never a time, and I know that a lot of people can't say that, and it makes me feel horrible that people can't say that, because I couldn't imagine going through my life not knowing that. I had a bird stuck in my basement once, and I don't know what it is. I just can't deal with stuff stuck in my house, like squirrels and stuff. It freaks me out. My dad shows up with a freaking net in, all hooded up, all dressed up, playing a joke on me. He says, wages pest control. I mean, come on. I was 35 years old when that happened. So what I'm saying is, guys, that is the kind of stuff I'm talking about. I can go back to that memory now, and I remember that. And it's something that, and even people that have a really bad time, I'm sure you can find somebody or someone that you had a little bit of happiness with. You know what I'm saying? I mean, and I'm talking before you lose your innocence, as they say, right? As you get older, you start really seeing the world for what it really is. But do we really see the world for what it really is? I mean, should we not try to be that way? To try to really achieve that innocence that we had? I mean, at least act like that and try to be happy and try to, put that to the ones that we love and even the ones that we don't know yet. So yeah, anyway.
You know what? That guy said, I get it. The little things that we took for granted shine through when you get out of prison. Me too. Or even from using. Yeah, you know what? You don't necessarily have to have been incarcerated to understand that once you get out of a self-imposed prison, you'll start to take smaller things for granted. And you know what, Niall? I think I'm going to finish up with a comment from Niall that I absolutely love. Niall said, someone once told me just believe, but he never told me what to believe in. Now I know. You know what, people? I would ask you to do two things. I would ask you to, number one, believe in yourself, because I promise you that you're strong enough to be committed to sobriety and to live the best life that you possibly can. And I would ask you to believe in this group of people that call themselves the crew, because you're not going to find a group of people anywhere that will care for you faster and more genuinely, solely because you need it, solely because they know what it feels like to have lost everything, including hope. And hope anchors the soul. There's no question. People, I want to thank everybody for tuning in tonight. This was a lot of fun. And I am going to be back tomorrow at the same bat time and the same bat channel with my partner. And we're going to do this all over again. You have my word. Between now and then, I want you to reach out and try to save somebody. I am Captain Tommy Scoville, and on the other side of the glass,
Mark Wages.
Mark Wages. This is a cat in a basket. Good night, everybody. Thank you. Good job, squirrel.